All right, Shalom. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth, and double salutations to all you Akim out there laboring, the house of David, the elect, that's pushing this word with all truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Shalom to you, brothers, and shalom to the elect. I'm back with another quick lesson through the Holy Spirit, the Rakakwadash. And before we get started, I wanted to emphasize the main point of what we talked about at camp yesterday about paying attention and seeing that we are really that close to the end of Babylon. Okay? In the end, it shall speak and not lie. Right? This is Romans 13 and 11. It says, "In that knowing the time, that now it is a high time to awake out of sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than we believed." So the fulfillment of prophecy is moving that fast, is the point. Okay, time is running out. Matthew 24, verse 21, it says, "For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be." Right? So before the end comes, okay, we're going to see more false flags, more things happening within this economy. Okay, people losing their minds. All right, basically the straits. Okay, it says a pressing. This is the word for tribulation. It says a pressing together pressure. Okay, the pressure is getting ready to increase. Metaphorically, oppression, affliction, tribulation, distress, straits. Okay, so these trials and afflictions are going to increase, okay, before the end takes off, is the point, right? Matthew 24, in verse 22, it says, "And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened." You see that? So we're in that time, and I want to get into this real quick, okay? This came out today. It says DC terror. It says 2 Israeli embassy staff killed near Jewish museum, right? Let's play the video real quick.
We begin with breaking news at 11. A deadly shooting in Washington, D.C. happening right outside the Capitol Jewish Museum, where a young diplomat's reception organized by the American Jewish Committee was being held. A man and woman, both staffers at the Israeli embassy, were killed. A man detained and handcuffed by event security was heard chanting, "Free, free Palestine." Attorney General Pam Bondi, one of those responding to the crime scene tonight.
We have the FBI, all of our federal agencies will work hand in hand with you, Chief, as we have done, and you, Mayor, to do everything we can to keep our citizens safe. We will follow the facts, we will follow the law, and this defendant, if charged, will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
The Israeli ambassador telling reporters tonight the young man and woman killed were a couple. They were set to be engaged next week in Jerusalem.
You see? So pay attention, okay? So in relation to the video here, this is from the New York Post. The headline reads here, it says, "Accused DC Jewish Museum terrorist Elias Rodriguez." See that? Elijah Rodriguez, right? This is this could be a Northern Kingdom Jake, right? You see, and as I said, Jake is in the forefront of domestic terrorism. Right? Elias Rodriguez reportedly posted DTA. See that? Praise Luigi Mangione in unhinged post. You see that? So look, the narrative is set again. Right? Let me get this real quick, because we're not ignorant of Satan's devices. This is Job 21 and verse 27. It says, "Behold, I know your thoughts and the devices which you wrongfully imagine against me." We know what's coming. Okay, this is all part of the, again, as I did the video the other day, okay, the loyalty oath law, okay, where they're trying to punish people for coming against, the who's, okay? It's all part of the shakedown, man. All right, we see it coming, right? Job 21 and verse 27, behold, I know your thoughts and the devices which you wrongfully imagine against me. Right? Verse 28, it says, for you say, where is the house of the prince, and where are the dwelling places of the wicked? Have you not asked them that go by the way, and do you not know their tokens? Right? That the wicked is reserved to the day of destruction. Okay? We're close to the destruction of the wicked, man. Okay? Which we're going to get into. It says, they should be brought forth to the day of wrath. Who shall declare his way to his face? And who shall repay him what he have done? Right. So who's declaring his way to his face? It's the prophets, man. Okay. Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter. How the righteous will stand in great boldness before the face of them that afflicted them, man. Okay. So the prophets of Yahweh Shem Yahushua are declaring the downfall of the wicked, man. Okay. Let's go back. Right. Into this article here. Okay. So you had Trump that had a say-in on this, right? Let me go to the point here. Right? So it says here, okay, it says the fatal shooting that took place outside the event that took place at a Jewish museum in Washington, D.C. is a depraved act of anti-you-know-what terrorism. Harming the Jewish community is crossing a red line, Dannon wrote. Quote, we are confident that the U.S. authorities will take strong action against those responsible for this criminal act. Israel will continue to act resolutely to protect its citizens and representatives everywhere in the world, Dannon added. All right. It says President Donald Trump has been briefed on the incident, writing on Truth Social that, quote, anti-you-know-what must end. Okay, here we go. All right. Now you get, like I said, this was perfect timing for this legislation to be passed. All right, for these to put the pressure on these states to push this, man. You see? It's all set up. It says quote, these horrible DC killings based obviously on anti-you-know-what must end now, Trump wrote. Hatred and radicalism have no place in the USA. Condolences to the families of the victims. So sad that such things as this can happen. God bless you all. So we already know, okay, what kind of time, all right, Donald Trump is on concerning these small hats, right? Trump says that death penalty, a proper punishment for anti-you-know-what in America. So we know what times we are entering into. This is part of the tribulations that we just read. Okay, the pressure. You see? This is Revelation 12 in verse 17, and it reads, it says, and the dragon was wroth with the woman. The dragon representing this beast system, this Edomite system, man. Okay? And the dragon was wroth with the woman representing Israel, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of Yahweh Shem Yahushai and have the testimony of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. So again, all right, these devils are ready to roll. They're putting everything in place. Okay? And they're using, these small hats as a, if I'm using the term correctly, as a scapegoat, man. Okay? So we're going to see more of these things happen, which is going to bring forth the tribulation, the pressure, man. Okay? The affliction, the straits. Okay? 1 Thessalonians 3, verse 2, it says, and sent Timotheus, our brother and minister of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and our fellow laborer in the gospel of Yahushai, to establish you and to comfort you concerning your faith, that no man should be moved by these afflictions. For yourselves know that we are appointed thereunto. Exactly. These things have to come. It says, the point here, 1 Thessalonians 3 and 4 says, for verily, when we were with you, we told you before that we should suffer tribulation. even as it came to pass, and ye know. So we understand. All right, this is all part of the buildup, man. Okay? All right, just looking up that word tribulation, you know, because it's all the spirit. Acts 14:22, it says, confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith. All right, hey, the road is about to get rocky, man. Okay? Exhorting them to continue in the faith, and that we must through much tribulation enter into the kingdom of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. So it's part of the walk. These are the things that Yahushua warned us of, man. Okay? And once again, just emphasizing the point of how fast these things are moving to the end. Right? Let's get into this real quick too. All right? I want to jump into this situation here between Israel and Iran. All right? As we know that Israel is preparing to bomb Iran nuclear facilities. All right? We talked about this because this is the least of the flock that's going to draw America out into this World War III. Right?
All right, y'all, welcome to the show. Holy cow, we got a lot of stuff to get to today. So in just a second, new bombshell report from CNN. Israel is apparently about to bomb Iran's nuclear facilities. I'll walk you through that. By the way, the framing of that story is preposterous. They're lying in their framing of it, and don't worry, I'll make sense of all of it for you. Then we'll get to Elon Musk is not okay. It appears like he's been excommunicated and banished from MAGA, so that's fun. We have Democrats now throwing around millions of dollars trying to create the Joe Rogan of the left. We have Kristi Noem humiliating herself so bad that she should honestly resign. We have U.S. politicians being called out to their faces over the Gaza genocide. And then later on, MAGA Civil War, Thomas Massie versus Donald Trump. A cancer expert says the quiet part out loud about Biden. And
yeah, real quick. And I was just thinking about that. Here it is. You got Trump sitting down with the president of South Africa. All right, talking about, you know, a white genocide going on in South Africa. But what about the genocide that's going on in Gaza? Okay, you see how, you know, hypocritical this man is? You know? Matter of fact, let me get that, man. Okay? This man is a hypocrite. Right? Let's get that in, okay, this is Job 20:5. It says that the triumph of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment. Man, you see, Esau's going down, man. These devils are going down. All right, his time is now, man. There's nothing he can do. This is why, again, all right, just making the point again. You know, the small hats are getting ready to make that move, man. They're getting ready to shut this shit down. Okay, war is the war is being waged against them. Okay, Iran and these other nations are plotting to take these small hats out. Okay, so it's pretty much, you know, these terrorists are getting ready to meet this devil on every side, you know.
It's happening, y'all. Not only did the Trump regime already arrest innocent immigrants, not only did they arrest judges, but now they're arresting and charging their political opponents with felonies. So horrific, full authoritarian dictator tyrant type stuff. So we'll talk about all that and more. Everybody do me a big favor. Please subscribe to the channel. It helps out big time and costs you nothing at all. Thank you to everybody who supports the show on Patreon. We couldn't do it without you. This is real grassroots media. I've never had a conversation with an advertiser. I've never done an ad read. So you guys fund the show $2 at a time, $5 at a time, etc. You can also sign up to support Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. That link is below. Strike on Irani.
To rise to life's challenges, monarchs go beyond the classroom, roll up our sleeves, and dig in. Because
let's get it. So CNN says the following. New intelligence suggests Israel is preparing possible strike on Iranian nuclear facilities, U.S. officials say. So let me just pause to point out, it's interesting that the framing of this article is that like, oh, U.S. intelligence is sort of calling out Israel here, aren't they? That's strategic. I need you to understand that's strategic. We're going to walk through it in just a second. But also remember, there was an attack recently, which originally everybody thought it was some sort of an accident. But it turns out a top Israeli general basically came out and said, some people say it's an accident. Other people say we bombed them. So there was sort of a sly admission that Israel already attacked an Iranian port. So that happened already. And that still hasn't been acknowledged by virtually anybody, by the way, just that one Israeli general came out and basically admitted it. But now they're saying the nuclear facilities are in the crosshairs. Okay. The U.S. has obtained new intelligence suggesting that Israel's making preparations to strike Iranian nuclear facilities, even as the Trump administration has been pursuing a diplomatic deal with Tehran. Multiple U.S. officials familiar with the latest intelligence told CNN. Now, here's why that's bullshit. This is all kayfabe. This is all like professional wrestling type shit here. Because
All right, we're going to play some more. The video had a little drag to it. But here we go.
non-starters. For example, they're saying, you can't do any enrichment whatsoever. To which the Iranians respond, we have a right under international law to do enrichment for scientific research and for power for our power grid. To say zero enrichment, they know the Iranians can't agree to that. By the way, as you all know, Trump ripped up the original Iran agreement, which was working and which they were abiding by. So we violated the deal, and now we're going to badger them to get into a new deal with stricter terms? No, that makes no sense. All right, let's continue. Such a strike would be a brazen break with President Donald Trump, please, U.S. officials said. It could also risk tipping off a broader regional conflict in the Middle East, something the U.S. has sought to avoid since the war in Gaza inflamed tensions beginning in 2023. This is rank U.S. propaganda here. Oh, gosh golly, the U.S., we're so anti-war. We're just peaceniks over here. We're just a bunch of doves, and we never wanted the war in Gaza to get to this point. Then why do we keep sending them money, and why do we keep sending them weapons, and why do we keep providing them diplomatic cover at the UN and in the international community? Why did the Trump regime just agree to freeze the bank accounts of the head of the ICC who's charging Netanyahu with war crimes? This is rank propaganda. All right. Officials caution it's not clear that Israeli leaders have made a final decision and that, in fact, there is deep disagreement within the U.S. government about the likelihood that Israel will ultimately act. Whether and how Israel strikes will likely depend on what it thinks of the U.S. negotiations with Tehran over its nuclear program. Now, remember, Trump gave Israel the green light already. He said, hey, do you guys want to attack Iran? You can attack Iran. That's up to you. If you want to do it, you can do it. And then Trump also said in an interview with either Time or Newsweek, Israel won't drag us into the war, but if Israel goes to war with Iran, we'll willingly go fight with them. Oh, my God.
There you go. Right? Man, just to add on to the news here. This is from Al Jazeera. It says, Iran says will hold U.S. responsible for any Israeli attack on nuclear sites. See that? Iran is going to hold America responsible. So no matter what happens, the least of the flock shall draw them out. Right? Jeremiah 49 and verse 20 says, therefore, hear the counsel of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, that he have taken against Edom, and his purposes that he have proposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. But it says, surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. So America and Israel are about to get smoked. Okay? This is it here. Look how fast this thing is moving, man. All right? Like he was making mention of the enrichment, right? Iran vows uranium enrichment will continue as U.S. demands zero concessions in nuclear standoff. They're not going to stop. The uranium develops these nuclear missiles, man. This technology. They're going to continue with their nuclear weapons program. Okay, war is going to happen. All right, as we read, the least of the flock shall draw them out. Verse 21, it says, the earth is moved at the noise of their fall, at the cry of the noise thereof was heard in the Red Sea. It says, behold, he shall come up and fly as the eagle and spread his wings over Basra. And at that day shall the heart of the mighty men of Edom be as the heart of a woman in pangs. It's over for these devils, man. Okay? The small hats in America are about to start this world's war. This world's war. You see?
So understand what's going on here. They're trying to create fake separation between Trump and Netanyahu so that when Netanyahu does this attack, Trump can say, well, I didn't agree to it. I was against it. But at the same time, I guess we have to back our ally. That's exactly what's going on here.
Exactly. That's all it is. Everybody sees it, man.
Here.
Let this pass.
Israeli strike on an Iranian nuclear facility has gone up significantly in recent months, said another person familiar with U.S. intelligence on the issue, and the prospect of a Trump-negotiated U.S.-Iran deal that doesn't remove all of Tehran's uranium makes the chance of a strike more likely. So what they're trying to do here is scare Iran. Sorry, Stinky's got her squishy toy. Is scare Iran into saying, okay, we'll do zero enrichment of anything. Among the military preparations the U.S. has observed are the movement of air munitions and the completion of an air exercise, two of the sources said. But those same indicators could also simply be Israel trying to pressure Iran to abandon key tenets of its nuclear program by signaling the consequences if it doesn't, underscoring the ever-shifting complexities the White House is navigating. Oh, please. CNN has the National Security Council and the Israeli Prime Minister's office has asked the National Security Council and the Israeli Prime Minister's office for comment. The Israeli embassy in Washington did not comment. Trump has publicly threatened military action against Iran if his administration's efforts to negotiate a new deal to limit or eliminate Tehran's nuclear program fail. But Trump also set a limit on how long the U.S. would engage in diplomatic efforts. So again, this is what you need to understand. Iran already abided by the last deal. It was verified over a dozen times by the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency of the UN. So they upheld their end of the bargain. It was the U.S. and Donald Trump specifically that ripped up the agreement. And so now the same person that ripped up the last agreement, which proves we're not good to our word because we didn't abide by our end of the deal, right now they're going to come in and demand stricter terms. And Iran's just being honest when they say, no, we're not going to agree to those terms of zero enrichment at all, because then you're saying we can't have power for our power grid and we can't do any scientific research.
And that's the nature of Esau, okay? He's not to be trusted. He's a liar, right? Psalms 10 and 7. Okay? Psalms 10 and 7, his mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. Okay? These nations, they understand that. This is why now they're preparing to deal treacherously with them. Isaiah 33 and 1, it says, woe to thee that spoilest, and that was not spoiled, and dealest treacherously. You see that? That's part of their treacherous dealings, man. Okay, they break the covenants. They're not bound by, their contracts and agreements. Okay, Esau never does that, man. You see? And dealest treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee. When thou shalt cease to spoil, thou shalt be spoiled. And when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee. You see that? Part of that, these nations laying that wound under them, man. See, these nations already know what's up with these devils, man. Okay, so they're preparing for action. Okay, so again, look how close we are to World War III. Another point, we'll wrap it up. Okay, that we also talked about. Again, it says coming soon to Apple devices, brain control, accessibility features. It says a standard for brain implants that would allow disabled people to control devices such as iPhones and the Apple Vision Pro could be available for developers this year. Okay, so this chip can finally be rolled out this year. Okay, the MOTB system. Okay, all these things are around the lines of this nuclear war that's coming, Jacob's trouble, okay, the famines, the plagues, the economic collapse, all those things in between. All right, that's how fast, or I should say, that's how close we are to the end of Babylon. Okay, by the way prophecy is moving. You see? So that's pretty much the point, We're almost home. Shalom to the next one. Shalom.